Welcome back to the Carpentry Australia podcast. I'm here today with Mr. Joseph Canavan. Do you want to introduce yourself?
Yep, so Joseph Canavan, Director of Canavan Constructions. Carpenter for 8 years now, coming up to 8 years. Background pretty much mainly in residential construction. Started out with a company just doing small stuff, so like small bits of bathrooms, renovations here and there. And then went on a decent size Euro trip when I was in mid-2015, 2016, and I sort of had a realisation. I was like, I want to be able to come out and say, I want to have a complete understanding of all aspects of carpentry, start to finish, and I knew I wasn't able to get that where I was. So left and then was with that builder for 6 years. It was Carbon Light, and really shaped the way that I think it shifted the way that I saw from just being a carpenter, really trying to master the craft of carpentry and taking heaps of pride in the way that you show up, the way that you dress, the way that you talk. Everything was a well-rounded piece of art, so to speak. The way that you present and the work that you do is all bundled together. Yeah.
Where does that thinking come from? Because there's not a lot of chippies out there that think that way and sort of have such a high level, expectation of the trade and themselves, and sort of put it into all aspects. Where did you have that?
It was definitely my second boss, Burkhard, from Carbon Light. He's German trained carpenter, so I was always under European trained carpenters essentially. They're always walking around pants. Have you seen the German carpenter pants?
No.
They're it's a full uniform, so they've got the vest and stuff. But he didn't make me wear that, luckily. But that's all pants tucked in. If you were on site, in the morning, you would call it hand out of your pockets, hood down. It was just drilled into me from the start. It was just don't just yawn or stuff in front of clients and stuff. He's you need to be present, if you're yawning, I'd be tired, but you're not in someone's face. It's it's a bit insulting.
Yeah, of course.
I think he drilled that into me, and then it sort of made me have a greater appreciation for the small things. And I've had conversations with people I don't think it's that. And I know guys who don't take it that seriously, and they're a better carpenter than me. They've been in it for longer, but I don't think that makes a difference to me. I think I can still put the same effort into all these small things that add up, and clients see the difference. And you can't convince me otherwise that clients don't look at someone differently to when you come up and you've got, your clean clothes, you've got, your guys aren't swearing on site or this sort of thing. Yeah. And the comparison is just, I feel it just brings a different level of pride to the work that you do. But long story short, from my boss, and I think it just sort of grew from there. And just, I don't know, even I watch a lot of stuff online, I learn, I basically use Instagram and YouTube as a tool to learn, and just look at all these other guys on there. I'm all right, this is what these guys are doing, I can implement this, I can do this. And I love Japanese carpentry, all the traditional carpentry, and the way that they watch a documentary on it, and they turn up 2 hours before, and they're in the workshops, and they're sharpening their chisels and fine-tuning their planes, and everything just set out, and it's a process instead of just throwing everything in the back of the ute and be chuck it in,
There's a different sense of sort of pride and professionalism, and it's really is an artwork that gets, I guess, taken for granted as well.
100%.
So you're obviously, I think one of the main things that I guess stands out, from talking to a bunch of members and talking to yourself, is that I've always seen that level of craftsmanship from you, and I think you've always had that level of your attention to detail is not, there's not many people out there that have that, and some of the ones that do, they're obviously extremely valued in the industry, is having that kind of attention to detail. So what, with your branding and sort of how you've ended up doing different types of work, what is the type of work that you love to do, and that you sort of would show up for every day?
So I love doing the fine finish carpentry. So I think, getting back to my old boss, he always said, you've got to find your niche. He's it's good to have the broad skills, but you can't be a specialist. It doesn't make sense. A specialist is someone who focuses on one thing and is extremely good at it. He's and if that's what you want to do, then that's what you have to do. You can't be a specialist in generalist things, so to speak. So that's where I've gone down the path, and I know I can't compete with framing crews who've got 10, 15 guys. So I just sort of knew I loved doing the detailed stuff, external timber cladding, all figuring out reveals and step downs, and how things are going to transition and what pieces meet where, and internal, a lot of like anything that takes a lot of detail to think, and you look at it, and like not everyone would see it, but like, you know, trained carpenters say, wow, that's a really nice transition, like how this piece is lined up here.
Yeah.
And like how they've built this wall out to be, you know, everything is thought about.
Yeah, it's all satisfying.
Yeah,
as well.
it's very satisfying to look at. And like, again, that's why I love like Instagram, because you just see these guys I follow, I'm like that's
what are some of the, talking about Instagram, what are some of the things that you feel like you've learned, you know, like even just recently, what's some stuff that you've picked up and you've gone like, fuck, that's really good, and you know, that's something I want to implement into my business or into how I operate myself. You know? Anything you picked up recently? Two
main things. I've got a project coming up, and I watched Founder Constructions. Have you seen him?
Yeah.
Legend. He did this video early on about skylights. Oh, he had it like a curved frame, and the way it was cut on the rake of the roof, so you could basically pre-assemble a thing, lift it in. And I was looking through his stuff. I was like, fuck, I'm going to use that. Like, it's brilliant. So like, I've already like marked that video. I'm like, yep, this is what I'm going to do when I come to this part. The second one was I watch a lot of stuff on like van, like reorganisation, and like the importance of keeping your tools like systemised, because you know, you may think like small things here and there you can just chuck it in and it's fine, but like when you've got, you know, a couple of like guys that I like to collaborate with, and you're sending people out to the van, you're like, everything's clearly labelled, you know, and everything gets taken care of, you know, everything's in this box and this and that, and eventually I'd love to get to that stage where, you know, maybe you have another guy or two on and they're set up with the same system, and you know, everyone's just running efficiently. You're not like, oh, let me check if I've got this, like, you know, you've got systems like QR codes, you scan in, like when like things are running low or stock, you can know it automatically. I need to top this up, I need to do this, and it just takes away from the I guess the memory load that you need to worry about one less thing, or like, you know, a 20-minute trip down to Bunnings. So they're the two main things, is that the skylight detail, which I really liked, and then the van racking organisation from Spencer Lewis, the Insider Carpentry. He's an American guy.
Cool. There is, you know, the crazy part is I didn't realise how, well, obviously America's huge, and they've got some unbelievable influencers and carpenters, and you know, I think I saw there's like awesome framers or or you know, Roof Slayer 26.
I've seen him.
Like these guys have just got unbelievable followings, but the level of work that they do is crazy, and I think there's a lot to learn from their sort of industry as well, and sort of seeing outside the scope of what Australia does. And do you see that as well, that they're sort of a little bit ahead in certain areas, and like what do you take from, you know, some of these blokes from overseas?
Yeah, so I think we're quite behind. I think we are held back a bit, partly some by mentality. I think also the way that their code over here is being structured isn't very helpful at all with how they're, you know, we can go into a whole discussion about like, you know, how we are behind New Zealand with the leaky buildings, and then coming over here and not using correct wraps, and you're sort of chasing your tail everywhere we go trying to meet these targets for homes, and they're not even being built properly. So, but anyways, that's a whole other issue. I think definitely the way that we build compared to over there, what's standard to over here, like, you know, I still drive past sites and you see guys using silver sarking, and you know, these clients are paying, like, you know, they're trusting these builders, and it may look good, you know, but it's not going to perform because of what's underneath and what's actually in the structure of it. So I think they put a lot more emphasis on that, and things like the Build Show. They're the big network they have of, like, you know, professionals are on there who are explaining details, and you can reference things, and you know, a lot of guys from like Sanford, I think he does a fair bit to do with the Build Show, like Jake Brutton and Matt Risinger on there as well. And I think that's one of them. But the other one which I do see is there isn't, like, what we have over here is like, you know, carpenters who do, like, you know, frame, fix, fit off, everything, that sort of thing. Like over there, they don't really have a lot of that. Like the companies who have crews will do that, but like if you notice, like when they've got like their finishing guys, they have a lot, like they're a lot higher detail, like what we do over here. But I feel like we're starting to slowly move towards an aspect of that. Like it's important to be able to understand from start to finish how to do aspects across the job, but as people are starting to slowly separate themselves into like the speed and the accuracy of framing, and then guys who are like doing the fine finish work. It's like if you're not doing one of the other, either day it's not productive or cost efficient. So if you're looking at a cost efficiency for me to go up against someone who's like, you know, the guys who I use for framing, they run rings around me every single day. But then the other way, vice versa, they can't get the details to the level that I like to think that I can get it to. For the speed.
Yeah.
So, and they have a lot of that, like, you know, they have like framers. All you see him doing is framing, like OSB roofs, like valley, like awesome, like detailed ridges and valley rafters and all these sort of things. You're like, wow, that's really cool.
Yeah, it's cool.
And then you see the other guys who are like inside of carpentry, and they're just doing all finish work or trim mill work, as they call it. So I think I'm starting to see, and that's what I'm trying to sort of push, and had a few chat to builders about, like, I'm not going to be doing, I'll do internal, like, you know, some internal framing stuff for you. I'm not going to take the whole thing on because it's not cost effective.
Yeah. And you sort of know your spot or what you're good at and sort of what you want to be, you know. You don't want to be focusing on, you know, finishing these frames. It's not your kettle of fish.
No, and I mean, I enjoy it, but I don't love it. Like, I really love, like, getting to bring out the finer details in a product and in a project, and working with builders and saying, like, this is how I see what you've gone, what are we thinking, like, how are we going to achieve the end detail, like, for the best result possible. And like, early collaboration is another big part of that. Like, I'm working with a few builders at the moment, and just like, you know, just like in the pre-construction process, and got a decent sized project coming up next year. And it's good to be involved early to say, like, you know, like really nice ornate, like, ceilings and things that are coming in, and you get really excited saying, and he's like, what do you reckon? And you don't get that involved if there's not an area of specialisation.
Yeah. Well, I think I'm trying to remember, but didn't you redo a church or something recently that had some nice like, there was sort of stained glass that needed to be preserved, and then obviously you had to reuse some of the actual sort of timber. I guess some of the resources that were there you had to sort of repurpose. And can you tell me a little bit about that job? Yeah,
so that was actually one of my favourite jobs I've done. That was in North Melbourne at a church that a Catholic church that I go to. And so Father pulled us aside, and they'd had like this area of the chapel which was just built off. It was still the original structure, but they'd put a dividing, it was looking like a cheap sort of timber dividing wall or door up there. They had some stained glass in it, and he said, I want to have it matching to what is existing, and which was a little bit tricky because it was like stone, like rendered stone, like smooth stone, so to speak.
It was beautiful.
So really, really nice. So we pulled down the old timber wall and reused the stained glass in the wall, but created new windows to make it look like it was actually thicker and built in. And we redid, there was only one pitch, like on the pitch of the roof, and it was sort of squared off, so we re-pitched that side to rake into the ceiling to make it look like a mini chapel. It was a chapel. It is a chapel. And then we redid the front door, and that had a nice stained glass window in it as well. I think just even though I work on a lot of cool modern projects, I still think that there's a lot of beauty lost in the way that we used to build, the style of the buildings, and I think part of me is a little, even though I'm happy to work on these amazing projects, part of me is a little bit sad seeing the details in this that we're sort of letting go of.
You know what? I think that something that definitely is changing, and this is something that I've noticed, and maybe, you know, you're in the building game, so you'd know all about it, but there is a little bit of that character coming back in to the building trade. So people are sort of a little bit more interested now in, you know, the finer details and things that look a little bit more architecturally, you know, interesting. And it's not really just about these big modern brick, brick looking houses that just don't really have much soul or anything to them. Are you seeing a little bit of that as well? Do you reckon there is some detail that's coming back in?
Yeah, somewhat. I still think we are quite stuck in the architects sort of world, where they and the clients will come into them and saying, I want these big open spaces, and it's cost efficient to a flat roof.
Box gutters. That's
box gutters is like the builder's nightmare. Just it's like the drainage inside the pitch of the roof. But I think definitely I'm seeing more coming back, but not as much as I'd like. I love working on those older houses, and even just getting to preserve or extend at a similar style often. And you can see, you look at a doorway, and these doorways now, they still require a ridiculous amount of skill to make these custom doorways and stuff that we have now, when they're pre-done from hardwood, and it's beautiful, you put them in. But then you compare that to what they were making, all right, well, these guys 120 years ago wouldn't have had these tools.
No.
They wouldn't have had these. And then you look really closely, and there's a couple of mil difference between these things. These are all handmade, hand carved.
It's impressive that they were able to get it that, you know.
And you just, I was speaking with Anthony about it, saying, mate, look, these guys would have been sitting on this for 3-4 weeks, with a saw, with a plane, with everything, just dialing it in, getting it perfect. It's a different level of like patience and precision that they would have had with the tools they were working with.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think definitely it's making the features are making a comeback. Maybe not so much the style. Seeing like, you know, a few Victorian sort of style new ones being built, so to speak. But I feel like we are very much at the mercy, not the mercy, but like I guess of what's in trend right now.
Yeah, that's
which is
right.
the big, you know.
Well, the trends change as well. You know, like mullets have come back, and you know, flared jeans, and Dunlop volleys are on their way. You know, like all these things that sort of go out of fashion, they end up coming back at some point. But it'd be cool to see more of that in the building. Like I'm a big lover of. I love the heritage. I love the fact that Melbourne preserves, you know, and some of our other states as well preserve, you know, some of these old builds, and they don't allow you to change, you know, something that was once beautiful, you know. And they want to make sure that. Have you worked on some heritage stuff before, or have you got an interest in the heritage side as well?
Yeah, we do a lot of heritage, like repairs. And the complaints from clients are like, I wish I could just knock this thing down. I just have to bite my tongue, like, oh. Yeah, no, we do a lot of like repairs and like deal with Canavan Woodcraft down the road. And they do like all the ornate, like, you know, pre-done, like you just take them the template, this is what we need. I love it. Like you just give it like a whole facelift with a coat of paint, and you just stand back and you're like, it's like part of history, like they're not allowed to knock the thing down. So I really like it. And it is a lot more common in like working in a city when people call you up, you're like, oh, fingers crossed, like maybe they've got an old one we can repair or work on. And I still like the extensions where they'll keep the front, and then there's something a bit more modern at the back, but I do like keeping that beauty and that history too. I think that's what's exciting about it for me. Is like, you know, the history that's in the place and they're built like the colleges. And
they've been here for, you know, the thing is there's like 100-year-old houses that you know, you see the front facade of it, and like that's what it looked like all this time ago. And then you go inside, and then it's got these beautiful, you know, concrete kitchens, and they've got like these big sort of like skylights and all this stuff that's all modern, you know, inside. But you're right, that sort of being able to see sort of where it came from and sort of how it's changed over the years is unreal.
And the handrails, and we're working on one at Albert Park at the moment. It's almost done. And it's just, you just see it, and it's like pine lining, like ceilings, like, you know, ornate posts, like cornice trim work, like it's just
gorgeous.
It's just awesome. And then it gets painted like modern, it's like a black sort of color. But it's like you still see the heritage facade. You're like, this is like what it was like. I think it was like 130 years old. Yeah,
it's unreal.
And it's just like, this is awesome. And we've fixed the handrail like new to what the old one used to look like, and put the new boards up, and you know this is going to last like another, you know, 70, 80 years. And then from that's like 200 years of history, 250 years of history. So you're sort of getting your hands on parts of history that, you know, the next generation will be like, how do we preserve this and keep this, so we remember, you know, what we started from to like where we are now, and who knows what the trends are going to be. By then, like
the houses in the sky, you know, like they'll just be, who knows.
Really, it's incredible.
What about like the next generation of chippies that are coming through? Because you've got your 8 to 10 years of, you know, construction that you've got in the books. What advice would you give to, you know, some young kids that are coming through, or even someone that wants to start an apprenticeship in carpentry? What advice would you give for them?
I would say, don't be afraid to make mistakes. Is a really big one, and something I'm very, very very grateful to my first boss, Burkhard. He really instilled that into me. I used to be always someone who's very picky and like very hard on myself. I played football growing up, and I was just like, I wanted to play AFL, so I was like, any little mistake I did, it's like,
pick yourself apart.
I just really pick myself apart. And he said, it's great that you have that, but he's like, you can't let it affect the next stage of your work. He's like, when you make a mistake, just stop. What did I do? How can I fix it? If I don't know how to fix it, get somebody, but come to them and say, this is what I'm thinking, this is what I've done. Like, don't go expecting answers. Like, think a few steps ahead, like what you like, and you know, the further you move up, the further you have to think ahead. And it sort of just trains that process, and then you do that enough times, and you're already thought of, like, things pop up, you're like, you don't have to get someone, and you don't have to like get their help, but just accept the fact that you're going to make mistakes and that it's all right. Like it's going to happen. Yeah, it's going to happen. We make mistakes all the time, and the best chippies that run rings around me, I know, like, they make mistakes, but they're just like, okay, we fixed it.
You fix it, move on from it.
You know, that's all. It's as easy as it has to be. But I think taking pride in what you do, and the speed, like take your time and the speed will come. So like learn to do it right.
Yeah.
And then slow. Don't worry about like rushing. Like still keep a good pace, but the speed will come with the understanding and the competence of the tasks that you're doing.
It's not all about just smashing things out as quickly as you possibly can, because you're not really going to learn from.
And another one which is a little bit out of the box, but I like to my mates give me a lot of crap for it, but I talk to myself like when I'm doing like tasks and working like that. So I'm like I always got told, like, you know, if you can talk it out, like, and you're worrying, like, oh, is this going to work? You can say, all right, well, this is going to span from here to here, and if this detail comes here, and you just think it up, but instead of being in your head, like, I was always somebody who just likes to, like, think, so if you have to, just, like, say it out loud, and then, like, if it makes sense and you can explain it to somebody else, you're like, it's probably a logical thing that I can proceed with.
That's clever.
Yeah, that's I do it all the time. We get a lot of crap. They're always
so
like, you know,
Joey's at his weird, like, talk to himself.
It's the first sign of madness, is what I've been told. So yeah.
Oh, that's all right. What about the builders that you work with? So you work with a lot of high-end builders, and you work with architects and stuff as well. Question I always like to ask is, well, what do you think makes a good builder great? What separates the two?
Yeah, I've been very, very lucky to work with a lot of like really good like high-end builders. I think for me, I value organisation, like organisation and systems, and also just trust. I feel like that's a big one. Sometimes you work on projects where like it's sort of essentially being a little bit micromanaged, but like when a builder can say, this is what I expect and this is what I trust, here is the systems that I have, this is like, and just lay it out for you. There you go, like please deliver me the product. I feel like building a relationship of trust and organisation and communication, and being able to clearly communicate your point, the end image that you want, but also like, you know, if you're not happy with something, like how do you react to that? I think it's a big thing in the industry, like the old school way of just like, you know, yelling at somebody and have it go, and then that was acceptable, is like sort of going out the window. Like I still think I don't think you need that. If you're teaching carpenters and apprentices to have a really high standard of work, and you're saying that's not acceptable, like that's all that needs to be said. Like if someone's mucking around and being silly on site, well, that's a different conversation. But there's no need to like berate somebody or yell at them, or some of the stuff you see people doing. Like there's just absolutely like no need for that, because you don't learn from a perspective or like a mindset of fear, because when you make a mistake, you're already nervous about the next time. And if you know you've got someone like, oh, you idiot, like why are you doing this? Like, you know, it doesn't breed that. Like the best builders that I've worked for, they accept that you're going to make mistakes. They have high standards, so they hold you accountable for it. But they're like good people. Like they're good. They have good people skills and good communication skills. I think it's a big sign that somebody is. I guess they struggle to communicate as if, or like regulate their emotions as if, you know, they're going to scream at somebody over such a small mistake. Like that's probably not like not the best reaction. And it doesn't breed positive like movement and trust in them as a person to run like the whole site.
You're not going to come back to them for you know, if something else goes wrong, you might sweep it under the rug, or, you know, not tell them about it, or it just sort of doesn't breed for good collaboration on site. And if you can't go to, it's almost like if you know, in relationships and stuff as well, you should always be able to go to your partner and talk to them about things. And if you're worried you're going to cop flack for it, you know, it's the same sort of out on a building site, that you want to be able to have that communication and not be afraid to make mistakes, because it's part of it.
100% it's part of it. And it's I always have it on site. Like if anyone makes a mistake, it's they come out and they say, who did this? It's like, you know, it's a team. It's like we did it. It's like, don't worry, like we made the mistake. I'm not going to throw someone under the bus and be like, it was him, it's all his fault. It's like you always are.
Except for when your brother was.
Shonda used to get blamed for a lot of stuff. I was all like big on like Jocko Willing. Have you
I love Jocko. The old 4 a.m.
Extreme responsibility. Extreme ownership, sorry.
Good.
I love that, and I use that all the time, and I always explain, like, if there's a mistake made, I get to work with working with builders, I get to work with a lot of apprentices and stuff, and if there is a mistake made, like, I'll always say, like that was like us, that wasn't just me, because like they could have made the little thing, but if you've got that mindset of there's always something that I could have done better, that could have foreseen that or like preempted that, then it more becomes a team collective, and then they're thinking like that, well, I know he's not going to throw me under the bus, because and then they're thinking, all right, well, if they see someone else doing something, or another apprentice, they're like, oh, hang on a second, instead of, you know, just letting that person go make the mistake and then having to fix it and saying, oh, that was their fault, you know?
I was talking to earlier today, actually, did a podcast with Adrian Gilman, who runs a company called Kingsford Carpentry Services, and he's been in the game like 32 years, and great bloke, very passionate about carpentry itself. And he said an unreal thing about apprentices is that if his apprentice makes a mistake, he still sees it as his mistake. So he won't ever be like, you know, you've done this wrong and this is unacceptable and whatever else. He'll sort of approach it in the fact that if the apprentice makes a mistake, he either hasn't taught him in the right way or communicated in the right way, and it's sort of up to him to make sure that he rectifies it, or at least helps the apprentice to fix whatever problem is in front of him. But he won't ever be like, you know, nah, it was my apprentice that fucked it, you know, and, you know, I'll fix it. It's more, you know, oh, actually I need to teach him more about this, or you know, so that these issues don't come up in the future.
100%. And I've been on both ends, and like I've been like on both ends of that, where you've been sort of berated for your mistakes, and then going to a place where it was acceptable to make mistakes, but it was never acceptable to lie about your mistakes. So it was front up. What have you done? What's this? How can we fix it? And it just creates a culture where no one's like, everyone like is open. It's and that's the thing. Like I feel like some people have it in their mind, and I probably did to start with. It's like it's never acceptable to like make mistakes. Like once you come out of your apprenticeship, you're a carpenter. It's like that's it. That's your time you can't make any mistakes. And you know, and then another wise word of wisdom that the Burkhardt gave me is like, when you are qualified, he's like, don't think that your learning stops. He's like, that you just learnt the skills of how like to carpenter essentially. He's like, this is where the real learning starts, because like there is no umbrella. Like this is like, you know, sort of like fending for yourself now. He's like, and you're going to have to figure things out. And I have like that, like it's like called like a white belt mentality. It's like we're always like learning. Like so I rock up and there's nothing that.
What is it? Always the apprentice, never the master, or always the student, never the master? And
there's the other quote. It's like what was it? It's like the fool will never be a master. In order to be a master, you must first be a fool. Like, you know what I mean? Like you have to learn, and you start. And there's no negative from having a learning mindset. Like whereas you think you know it all, there's a lot of negatives. Because a lot could go wrong, and you don't know it all, and you never will know it all. Based on the evolving nature of the building industry. There's always stuff you're like, oh, again, Instagram, you see, you're like, I didn't know you could do that. That's a good way of doing it. But if you have this thing, nah, that's the way we do it. That's the way we've always done it. Well, you're not going to learn anything, and you're going to get left behind.
It's not going to serve you as well. The next thing I really wanted to ask you was you've almost a decade in carpentry and in the trade that you love. What keeps you motivated after all these years?
I think just a genuine passion now. To be honest with you, when I first got into it, it wasn't something that I knew, like, I always wanted to be a carpenter. Like, I've got mates.
Was it sports that you sort of started with? And then, like, what did you do before carpentry?
I did a lot of things. So I always wanted to play AFL. And I, like, really dedicated myself to play that. But, where'd you get to? I played VFL. I did a year of VFL. And then the body, I just had to make the call, like, because I was working, and really, like, if I'm being honest, I just wasn't good enough. You know what I mean? As much as I like to think, I had a car accident, you have all these sort of things that happen to you. It's like, at the end, if I was good enough, I would be playing AFL.
It's either that or you're too good for the game.
We can go with that. But I think it was the latter. I just wasn't good enough. And sometimes it's hard to accept, but that's life. So from there, I did sign writing for a year. Again, like really fine. It's like a finer detail sort of job. Before that, one of my first jobs, I worked as a baker, like a baker's apprentice for a year. While it was sort of worked well because you'd start really early.
Oh, mate, you'd be up at 2 o'clock.
And then I went that, and then originally I thought I was going to be a sparky. So I did a month with my mate, and then I realised it wasn't for me. What was it about? Because obviously you ended up in carpentry. What was it that didn't appeal to you from a Sparky's perspective? Because a lot of people love being an electrician, and that sort of seems. My best mate's a Sparky, and I really appreciate the work that he does. But for me, it was just more of a broader building perspective that I was at the time I was really interested in. And I was like, I really want to learn how to frame this and that, and And he was like, maybe the job that he had me on could have been the first one with like crawling in really tight roof spaces. You know, when you're young, you're like, oh, I don't want to do this. I don't want to be in the roof all day.
Be covered in bloody insulation.
But it was, I think also probably part of it was I got to work with one of my best mates. Like he was older than me, so I was like, oh, this is cool. Yeah. But then it's not going to be like that forever.
Yeah.
And then I got an opportunity to do a trial apprenticeship, and I liked it.
And how old were you when you started?
I was just almost 21.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So almost 21, and then I did almost 21. Then I did a 3-year, did my apprenticeship in 3 years. So I did a pre-apprenticeship before my pre-trial.
Yep.
He said, oh, it'd be ideal if you had that. So went back, did that myself, went with him, was there for a year, left to my boss, and then did that Euro trip in between the new boss. And then, I was with him for 6 years before I went out on my own.
Oh, that's awesome. So what's one myth that you'd like to bust about, the trade itself or carpenters? What do you think that there's some people believe, but it's just so far from the truth?
I don't know. I feel like sometimes the news and the shows that, like, from all the negativity that builders aren't sort of professional or trustworthy, and they're just looking to get money.
Yeah.
From what, like I watch a lot of like the Site Inspector.
Yep.
So he's great, and then you see like a lot of the feedback, like, where are all the good builders in Melbourne? I'll tell you where all the good builders are. I'm working for them. You know what I mean? Like, it's just, there's a lot of really, really good builders, but also like really good guys, and I think that is where it's important where I feel like the model has to sort of change. Like, I understand there's a market for, people, first home buyers, and people have budgets, but when you're building sort of that mid tier, like to high level range, like the pre-construction process is huge. Like, you need to be engaging builders early. Like, they need to be involved in design, because there's a crazy percentage. I could be wrong, but I think it's like something like 60 or 70% of plans that get drawn don't actually get built.
That's wild.
And that's because we have an industry that's sort of fueled by people getting money early on. Like, you get a big set of plans drawn, and they don't have any idea how to price these projects, as well as what the builders, they could have some idea. But these builders that I'm working with, they're not trying to, take all your money. They're like, they have the pride I have for carpentry, they have in delivering high, like, beautiful homes. Like, and like, they just stand back and they're like, oh, I love looking at this detail or this or that. Like, they have genuine, like, passion.
Yeah.
I think one thing, if anyone could take that away, like, listening to that, is just like, there's a lot of like amazing builders out there. It's just about, like, I guess meeting and like spending time with them and building that, relationship, not just here are my plans, give me the price. Yeah. That's it. It's because, you're going to get a lot of cowboys who can enter the chat when you're doing it that way. Because you've got an idea of how the build process should go based on what you've done with your drafter, your architect, and everything that you've been involved in to start with. But when you're walked through the process, the way that I see these builders walk through their clients with, it's like they're involved in a lot of the steps. Like, okay, how would you like this? How's this room going to flow from here to here? These are the issues that we could run into, so make sure you leave allowances for this. And you pay for that to start with. Yeah. And you maybe spend, I don't really know the cost of myself from that, but like you say, you spend 50 grand, and like, that's what a good set of plans will cost you on the pre-construction process. But then that saves you down the long run, because you don't get halfway through, or you don't get what happens to these poor people on these site inspector shows, where they spend their life savings of $400,000-$500,000, and they're left with a house that's not built to code. Yeah, and like things more stress than you could probably ever imagine put on somebody like that, and they're hopeless. Yeah.
And they can't even, they don't even have the money to rectify it, or, and the builders go under, and then they never come back and fix anything. And you're right, it's a nightmare waiting to happen.
Yeah. But I think, to summarise that long tangent I went on, there are a lot of good builders and good people as builders out there. And it's just about taking the time to meet them and spend time with them before going ahead, I think. And they're not out to take your money. They're out to give you a good job and make an honest living for themselves and their family, and keep you involved in the process as well.
Definitely. And I think through my experience, because I've been with CA for almost 8 years now, and it's my experience is I've met so many good carpenters and good builders, and I can only really count on maybe one hand really of the bad people that I've sort of come in contact with. Yeah. And there's been thousands of people that I've sort of interacted with over the years, and you're right, I think there's a lot more good out there. It's not as doom and gloom as people sort of say. Yeah. The last thing I guess I wanted to talk to you about as well is you've been a member with us for a long time, and I think you found us sort of, do you know what you were looking for at the time, or like why you ended up partnering up with us? I think it was maybe 2018 or 2019.
It was pretty early.
It was pretty early
Yeah.
into your,
It was pretty much at the very end of my apprenticeship. So my last year of my apprenticeship, I was at TAFE, and I saw that you guys had I saw like the grey t-shirts. You had them back then. I loved them. I was like, yeah, that's cool.
I got one.
I'm gonna wear one of them. So I liked that, but I think it was just the way that it was. I don't think I dealt with you to start with.
It might have been Rosie, or it would have been, who else? Who else do we have? We had Mel back then. Mel was someone who taught me. There was a few sort of early people in the piece.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've been here since 2018 now. So a little while.
And so they were at TAFE, and they were basically like had information packs, and it was free. Like, you know, sign up as apprentices. So I was like, well, there's no real loss here.
That's right.
I'm not paying anything. I get a
It's
free
still
t-shirt.
free. It's
still free.
free.
Easy to sign up.
Yeah.
And and I was just like, oh, this is cool. And then when it came to the part where I was, full time, I was like, all right, this is the options. And then I was like, okay, well, what do I get? And I just saw like what I was able to get access to.
Yeah.
Well, to me, it was a no-brainer. I was like, I can get your pricing calculators, and then also like the trades partnerships. At the time, I don't think it was Milwaukee back then. There was
we've had a couple of different.
Since the start,
Yeah.
Well, FXD, were you ever with FXD?
We had them in the early stages as well.
I think you had the FXD socks. Remember, you had like the six pack of the FXD socks. That probably drew me because so yeah, that was them as well. But yeah, I think it was just the transparency and the access to other brands who are really, like, by supporting you guys and coming on board, like, that they have a care about where the industry is heading.
Yeah, definitely.
And I really like the idea that you can show, like, you can have that Carpentry Australia card and you'd be like, this is like a recognised person who's paying money themselves to show like I give a crap about what I do. Like, I take what I do seriously, and they have, and like, you don't pay that money for a membership and like be a part of an organisation if you don't care.
Yeah.
And that's the way I saw it. I was like, well, that's a no-brainer to me. And then I saw what you were doing with the charity days and helping hand work, and I was like, yeah, that's something that that I want to be a part of. And like anyone who's putting their time towards things like that, it's easy. Like, you want to surround yourself with people and be involved with people who are working towards a greater good and a greater, like, forward, like pushing the industry forward, and like leaving the people who don't want to grow and learn and help, like, leave them behind. Just push forward. Like, this is the way we're heading. If you want to jump on board, like, go for it.
That's
but if
right.
not, then like,
and there is bigger and better things coming, and we couldn't do it without support from blokes like yourself, and we love being able to collaborate with just like-minded people, and it's just we just love what you're doing. And I'll never forget this funny quick story before we wrap up. We were doing the Helping Hand Day in Epping, and I think you'd had a job somewhere else, and you were going to come through and help towards the end of the day, and it was probably 43 degrees or something. It was so hot. And we had you out the front, bloody digging holes, and getting the concrete ready for the railing that we're putting in out the front, and no complaints, just rig out, ready to get stuck into it. And it didn't matter that you'd rocked up later in the day. You still put in a couple of days with us at that job, and you spent almost a whole week at the one that we did in Warrandyte as well, where we had a huge job. You were doing all the skirts and all the framing and stuff for the inside of that house that was getting renoed, and like it's been a pleasure to be able to do that stuff with you. So
no, it was great.
Thanks for always hooking in and looking after us.
Always happy to. That was a memorable job, that one. I remember. You did look after us, so you got us a drink at the end. So
that's right. We got some Powerades.
That was it.
Yeah. All right, well, thanks for talking to me today, man.
Awesome.
Where can, if anyone wants to find you, what's your socials, and where can people get in touch with you?
Yeah, so socials are just Canavan Constructions on Instagram. I have Facebook, but I need to get a little bit better at being active on there. But post everything to the Instagram account, and always looking for new people and like-minded people to work with and along with. I love collaborating with a lot of chippies and just the way that I model things, like the subcontractors. So get in touch if you ever want to join together and do a few cool projects. But pretty much that's it. Just socials at Canavan Constructions, and
awesome.
That's it.
Awesome. Well, lovely work, bro. Thanks for having us today, man.
All good. Thank you.
Appreciate it.